Okay.
You're
how good's
effectively,
that?
yeah, absolutely, and you're effectively getting a local agent managing your property because of that zoning and the way the property managers operate. It allows us to, adequately service all areas.
And I know it's a family business, and between Robin and Lockie, that they've been in business for a long time. But how many people do you have working for you?
We have upwards of 80 staff at the moment. So it's a big team. We've got a lot of support staff as well. We even have full-time relief property managers that are full-time staff that are able to slot into those portfolios when a property manager's away or on annual leave.
Yes.
And we find that really helps retain the high level of service because the relief property managers get to know the client base. They know our systems. They know how we function. We don't rely on temps, which probably don't have that sort of granular knowledge of how we operate.
True.
So, yeah, look, it's a big team, and we have specialist roles. Property management's become increasingly complex over the years, particularly with legislation changes. And
talking of legislation changes,
yes,
we've had some doozies this year.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of concerns I think that landlords have. I think the vast majority of the rules that have come in have really just brought us in line with legislation that's already been in place across the eastern states.
Yes.
Ours, actually, we've got off fairly good in South Australia. Some of the rules that have come in, I think, my understanding is they're a little more, I guess, not as pro-landlord in some aspects interstate, but we've done pretty good in South Australia to get a pretty good balance of some of those laws.
Excellent.
Things such as like pets. Now there's
what does that sort of mean, like pets? Like what sort of limitations, if any?
Look, aside from it really comes down to not reasonably withholding consent to a tenant keeping pets at a property, unless there's a specific rule or a strata obligation which specifically says that pets are not permitted in the building.
Of course.
There are some instances where they are not permitted, and there are some specific circumstances where, for example, if a landlord has a severe allergy to pets and it's a medical reason why a tenant can't keep a pet in a property, there's probably some process you can go through and provide some documentation on that. But look, largely we don't feel overall it's going to affect things too much. I think it's just a bit of a change in thinking as well, and also even with things like terminating leases, there's some obligations on the landlord to provide more notice, and now you've only got specific grounds for terminating a fixed term lease as well.
True.
Which has some genuine implications. If you were to ask a tenant to vacate, you can't really do that without those specific criteria being met.
True.
So
which is not a bad thing.
Look, I think so, and particularly in a tight rental market where a lot of renters are really struggling to find the right property.
True.
I think it's been designed to balance things out whilst still making property investment viable for investors as well.
Is it still viable, do you think?
I think it always is.
Okay.
I think property has proven over many, many years that it is a viable investment, and it's stable. I guess that's where they're saying of it's as safe as houses.
And yet, in the financial planning world, property is considered as risky as shares, which a lot of people go, no way. Bricks and mortar, I can go up, touch it, feel it, hug it. It's there, whereas shares is a piece of paper. So you've been in the business for 25 years.
Yes, I've been around for a little while now.
You started when you were 6, so that's really great. So what keeps you going in property?
I think you've got to have a real love of working with people. I think I see a lot of new people come into the industry over the years and they say, I want to get into real estate. I love houses.
Yes.
And they quickly find out that it's not so much about houses, but it's about people.
It is.
And I think you've got to have that genuine love of just helping people and working with people. And that's certainly what keeps me motivated. Seeing people achieve their goals, whether they're an investor or even a tenant getting their first rental, it's an exciting time for them. They're maybe moving out of mum and dad's place and moving into their first rental and starting their journey on, saving for a house. And I think, as real estate agents, we're involved in that, those critical parts of people's lives through that journey. And I think that's really, that's what keeps me going.
And of course, the beauty of first home buyers and not having stamp duty on any limit in South Australia, which is great.
Yes.
You can buy a $2 million home if you can afford it,
Yes.
And pay no stamp duty. So, it's an added bonus for first home buyers to get in to the marketplace.
Particularly with the price of property, and it's becoming increasingly difficult for those first home buyers to enter the market and find a genuine pathway to doing that. So,
Yes.
Incentives such as that, I think, are critical, particularly in the current economic climate.
Absolutely. And welcomed, I know, by my two sons who are out looking for property at the moment. So, they're actually woohooing because it's, fantastic for them.
Yeah.
It's just that the prices are starting to, even units,
Yes.
units have just really jumped quite considerably.
They have, yeah. It's certainly been a pretty crazy few years in terms of property values and rental values. I think what a lot of people don't realise that a lot of landlords went nearly 10 years without much genuine growth. So it's probably long overdue in a lot of respects.
Well, that's interesting.
And I think the sort of, particularly with the rental market, where we're at now, I really feel that we've sort of hit a bit of a ceiling. I can feel things starting to plateau in terms of demand as well.
Excellent.
So I think it's good because I think we're gradually reverting to, I guess, what's a new normal now. It's what the prices are now are probably going to maintain for some time. I don't think we're going to start seeing crazy growth in any area. I think property values for sale, I think they're still creeping up. So that's probably more of a concern, I think, than rents at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Purely just due to the low stock levels. And its supply and demand.
And how can we fix that?
Build more houses, which I know that they're trying to do. A lot of builders going out of business. It's on the news every second night.
It is, isn't it?
So it's once again a fine balance of building new homes and
correct,
catering to that demand, I guess.
It is very true, very true. Just it is volatile, but it's also stable in some respects. Situation. It depends on the person's situation, I think.
It does.
As to if you're a first home buyer, I think you're going to be more vulnerable and volatile to what's available versus someone who's already an existing seasoned purchaser.
Yes.
Who's sort of had property. Whether it's a lot, a little, or just some, they're probably a little bit more seasoned and it's a little bit more stable for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think doing your research and having a clear understanding in what you're buying is crucial. I mean, it's always important, but I think even more so in the current market with those rising prices. You want to make sure you're not paying too much for something, because it does happen. Particularly, I think, from a property investment side of things. If you're looking at, if you've got X amount to spend on an investment property, you want to make sure that you're buying something that is, you're not paying too much for it. The yield is going to be manageable, and there's some scope for capital growth as well. So there's a number of things to be aware of, and I guess that's why we developed the investor support service, which is the department that I manage now at Turners. It's really about helping investors make that right decision as well.
So it's a bit like a buyer's advocate to a degree, isn't it?
It is. And it's, we encourage our potential clients to send us links to any properties that they're looking at online. Doesn't matter who's selling it. Send us the link. We can do a bit of free research for you, give you an idea of how those numbers look. Show them the rental rates in the area. What are the yields like? What are the prospects for capital growth? What's the area like that they're investing in as well? What's the profile of the suburb? A lot of interstate investors are coming across to Adelaide.